Hello, everybody. Welcome to Creative MadLibs. My name is VooDoo Val, and I am joined with my good buddy Cody Bear this morning. How are you, Cody?
I'm doing great, Val.
I'm super pumped. We are here. We've had some tech issues this morning. Please, if you can, let us know in the chat if everything is looking good. Let us know if the music levels or the mic levels are good to go. You guys are pretty good at have a good ear for that sort of stuff. So let us know in the chat. But I see so many familiar faces in here already. I see Frank. I see Sean. I see Jack. Wade. It is so good to see you folks. Thank you all for joining us this morning. I'm going to kind of dive into a little bit about what Creative Mad Libs is, what we do here, just in case all of you folks here hanging out with us maybe missed last week's episode. So this is a format which you may have seen Cody and I do on other shows, doing some experiments for cool art prompts and activities and things. And basically, it amounts to us creating a little 3-line prompt, which you folks then get to vote on aspects of. So in a way, you folks are the creative directors for us here in the chat today, and we're going to be illustrating things that we all come up with together. So last week we did a cool little mushroom character, which was really fun, which I've got some cool stuff to show off along those lines today.
Yeah.
And this week we have a fairy tale theme. Are you excited, Cody? I'm pretty pumped.
I'm I was kind of like brainstorming like all the different directions that this could go today, so I'm very curious to see which ones end up being the ones that are chosen. It's going to be very interesting.
I'm excited because I also feel like this week's prompt, which I'll show to you folks in just a second, is like very like either or Val or Cody centric. Like it's
Yeah.
very much split down the middle. And we could either get a Val prompt today, a Cody prompt today, or like a super duper friendship handshake is what we might get.
Last week was like that as well. If you guys missed it, you can check it out on the Adobe Live YouTube channel as well.
Indeed. And speaking of last week, I'm going to pop over here to our work screens so that everybody can check out a little bit of what we did last week. So yours is looking absolutely fabulous, Cody. I did end up kind of changing up my character shape and stuff, and so
Mm,
I've started to chip away at something that looks a little more cooking inspired, like with
mm.
ingredients and
Yeah.
things. So I'm really
Yeah.
enjoying how it's going. But tell us a little bit about yours and tell us where he got that hat because I'm living for it.
Yeah, so it's funny because last episode we totally were on the conversation of how I struggle with doing more of the full environment type of
hmm
art, but
hmm
sometimes every once in a while it works out for me, and I felt like this time actually was one of those times. And so I took advantage of that and I tried out a few different of Kyle Webster's gouache brushes that I've never tried before. I thought I'd
hmm
experiment with some new textures. I wanted to make it look a little bit more painterly and hand excuse me, hand done.
hmm
So yeah, I just kind of I actually finished it in Fresco, funny enough. You wouldn't even know because the connection between Photoshop and Fresco is so great.
hmm
Just having the same brushes in both programs is really useful. But yeah, so I kind of just like did a little bit of the painterly look with some gouache brushes and crayon brushes, and used some color dynamics to kind of just like finish this little guy off. And I'm really happy with how it looks.
Yeah, I hope you are proud because this is absolutely gorgeous. You really did get like the whole scene going on in there, and there's a lot of really obvious things about your piece which I think people love, like just the characters in general, the whole vibe of it, but like taking a closer look at it, there's a few moments in here that like really resonate with me and things that I feel like I haven't quite seen from you before that I feel like you executed like so perfectly. And one of those things is I'm like living for that little area on the rock that the bird is sitting on, how you've shaded it so it looks like a realistic rock underneath, and
Mm.
then it has like these beautiful like hand-drawn painterly sort of marks over top of it that really lend
Mm-hmm.
an excellent style. And then you have like the shadow of the rock and bird behind on the tree, and then like that blurred shadow of the leaf leaning against it. I just like
Mm-hmm.
that little area. I'm like, this whole thing is great. I want to be his friend. I want to meet that bird. But like, if I could do that rock part in my own art, I would be happy.
Oh, thank you so much. The quote of the year, I want to meet that bird.
I want to meet that bird.
I
I need
want to
to
meet
meet
that
that
I want to
bird.
meet that bird.
I need to know where Mushroom Boy shops, you know? Like I need to know where he
Right?
gets his fit from.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are our mushroom characters that we created from the prompt last week, and we actually got a wonderful submission from Wade Acuff,
Yeah.
which is super cool, which I have up in my file right now, and I'm going to show you. And I think, if correct me if I'm wrong, Wade, because I believe Wade is in the chat with us this morning. Wade used the prompt that we were doing as kind of a an artistic warm up, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm living for this. I love it. But I think my favorite part about this little mushroom guy is that I cannot tell if he is really, really small or really, really, really big. And I think that I'm leaning towards him being like a Goliath type character. Like he's just
Yeah.
like this huge mushroom dude that's like, sup, sup
He's just like a
guys.
big tree almost.
Yeah, he's amazing. So thank you so much, Wade, for participating and hanging out with us. And if you folks at home would like an opportunity to be featured on the show and get a little shout out going, show off some of your work, definitely create with us. Today, as I said, is going to be the fairy tale episode. So our prompt is, this is a witch or fairy character, which we could start that portion of the prompt in
Yeah.
the YouTube chat right now. If you folks would like to vote, you can either vote where you're at in the YouTube chat now, or head over to YouTube so that you can see the polls. If you prefer to watch on Behance, you can even pop out that YouTube chat, make yourself a little voting module. So it's a witch or fairy character who lives in a haunted or fairy tale house deep in the swamp or forest. So now you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean about this is going to be a Val prompt, or this is going to be a
Yeah.
Codi prompt, or this is going to be a super friendship prompt. This is going to be one of those three. And while we wait, I'm going to start doing like a little sketch. Kind
Sure.
of start creating. And I'm really heavily taking a lot of inspiration, just like last week, from you, Cody, as far as like creating a spot illustration and kind of trying to get out of my comfort zone and move into doing more of that. So maybe as we get into this, you could give us some pointers on how to set up a composition as you are developing a new idea or concept.
Oh man. Okay, so whew.
That's a
I
loaded
usually
question. I
yeah.
know. I'm so sorry. Like, hi. It's like 9 in the morning. Please tell us your greatest art tricks on the spot.
Okay. Okay, you guys, the poll is up on YouTube, by the way. It just popped up. So if you guys want to head over there and vote, please do so while we answer some questions. But so my I have a very unorthodox way about doing compositions, honestly. Like I feel like I always heard when I was learning art, like, like a lot of artists do thumbnails and they try out a bunch of different, compositions and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. That never worked for me, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you. I pretty much always start with the character in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, like for instance, when I was just saying that I was brainstorming, the first thing that came to my mind was like, okay, how am I going to draw this character? Is it going to be a human? Is it going to be an animal? And then the next part of the prompt is the house. So who is this character? Where do they live? What are the different options that I could possibly do in the different directions that we could possibly go? So I'm kind of trying to create this character in my head, like it's more of a subconscious thing. It just like happens like within a split second. It's like, okay, I have this idea of this character that I might do. I was having ideas of like maybe doing like almost like a little birdhouse type little hut
Yeah. Yeah. I
type of
love that.
thing.
I love that
And maybe like
idea.
maybe it's like strapped to a branch
Mm-hmm.
like with rope or something, and then like, okay, well, what kind of character would live in this house?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, well, maybe the tree is over here, and then like it's like on a branch, and maybe, like if we chose a swamp, I could have like maybe some moss,
Yeah.
hanging from the tree branch. Like in my head, I'm thinking about what are the different, we kind of like talked about iconography a little bit last stream too, and like what are the different things that you think about
Mm-hmm.
when you think about different environments or different things. Like when we think about fairy tale, we think maybe knights in shining armor, or we think
Mm-hmm.
about fantasy magic, or we think about, witches and wizards, or swamp, we think about gators. Maybe our character is a gator that lives in the swamp,
Oh my
or
gosh,
maybe,
don't tempt
like
me.
a gator wizard.
Yes.
Like,
The
like
gizzard, if you will.
the gizzard. So yeah, and then I think about all of those things, I start brainstorming, and then I kind of like mash all of those things. How can I put all of those things into one single scene? And I just start putting things down and shifting things around, which is part of the reason why I like digital art,
Mm-hmm.
because it makes it easy for me to be able to do it in that way, where I draw the character and then put that character like in the scene. I did the same exact thing when we drew the mushroom character last week. If you
Yeah.
watched my process during the stream, I actually drew the mushroom first and then built the scene around the character.
Around, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. We do have an answer to our poll, so we are doing a fairy character, which
Okay.
I'm pumped. I'm
Okay.
super excited. So I have also created like kind of a little sketch here, and I've been approaching it like going for the Cody Bear lockup, and then trying to approach it in a way that like naturally made sense to my brain. So I
Yeah.
have like a square here where it's like I know I want it to be contained in like one little area, but I don't want it to reach the very edges of my piece. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of want it, like a spot illustration. And I don't, know the answer to our prompts yet. So what I started doing is I started just blocking out these shapes that kind of encroach upon our like center area where our subject may be. And I have some pieces that like stop at the borders of that square spot, and then some portions of it that break it, in like kind of a dynamic way. And I could like this is a scribble, but like it could now be a tree. I could put like
Mm-hmm.
tree branches there if I want to, and all that kind of stuff. And then I kind of like make this little circle area in the center where it's like I kind of want um my subject to be like right there front and center,
Yeah.
just to give myself a starting point. And I might scrap this. I did it last week and I ended up scrapping that first composition and starting on something new. But if I do it like this, then at least I'm not approaching a blank canvas I'm a little bit scared
Yeah.
of, you know?
Yeah.
So that is what I've got going on. And I would love to know, have you ever illustrated a fairy? Have you ever made a
I
fairy?
actually did twice, I guess, technically, during the Draw This in Your Style. I was actually doing a stream with Stevie Ray Drawn, if you guys are familiar with her.
Stevie!
And we did fairies. The one that I did was like she wore a little blue dress and she sewed.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one that Stevie did, she was in like a little forest, and she had an orange dress on, and she had a friend of a crow. So she was teeny tiny next to this big crow, which was really cool. I really loved both of our compositions that ended up out of that one. That was the only time that I've ever drawn fairies, though.
That's adorable. That's so cute. I'll have to pull that episode up because I love me some Stevie Ray Drawn,
Yeah.
and I would love to see kind of what you came up with. I feel like I'm pretty darn comfortable in today's prompt, like base, even
Hmm.
though um, like fairies and pixies and stuff like that. They're not really my typical cup of tea as far as like what I choose to paint for myself, but I do paint a lot of magical girls, you
Yeah.
know, and I feel like I could just do that, but teeny tiny,
Yeah.
but really
Totally.
small and like adorable. So I'm gonna go for that, and I'm kind of trying to channel like a little bit of um Tinkerbell energy,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like Tinkerbell, it doesn't have to look like Tink, but it has to, you know, you could find a lot of inspiration from like the ways that she has been posed throughout media.
Totally.
Um,
Yeah.
that's one thing about that character, is like the Tinkerbell poses are kind of incredible as far as like movement, motion, gesture, and stuff like that. So kind of trying to think about her as I make my way through this, I think is probably going to help. Um, and I think I'm gonna give her like a little like I'm jumping through the air
Cute.
kind of vibe. Um, I don't know what I'm going to put her in though. We do have another poll coming up for whether this character lives in a haunted or fairy tale house. Um,
Right.
and so I think that could start to, you know, if we can get that poll up in the YouTube chat, the answer to that one will really start to build that story as you were talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Um,
kind of helps inform how your composition is going to go
yeah,
too. Like it's kind of hard, like in this scenario, it's kind of like, okay, we're starting with the character, we know the direction that we're going, but especially because it's MadLibs, they could turn in a completely different fork in the road in
yeah,
2 seconds here.
oh yeah.
So yeah.
I feel like that is such a great way to just describe what it's like to watch one of our streams together. We show up with a plan, but it might not be that at all. We might do something else. We might start making a thing, and then it's a different thing by the end of it. Um, which I kind of love that energy. I have to say, personally, I think that like one of the best things that I ever learned to do artistically, um, and it's something that like has kind of changed the trajectory of my entire art journey, um, is learning to scrap a project. And I think that
Yeah.
it's something that it's a skill you can learn no matter what stage of your art journey you're in. Like it's not one of those things where it's like, well, you know, by the time you get to this part of your art journey, when you're this good at doing art, then you should do this so that you can X, Y, and Z. I think that like it makes you better, because if you could hold in your hands or see in front of you the amount of projects that I have been like working on or have worked on over the years, and kind of wasted time because I thought that if I started something I had to finish it.
Yeah.
The amount of hours that I struggled on a piece because I didn't know that I was allowed to put it down.
Yeah.
um, you know, it would be a mountain of projects. And sometimes you got to learn to trust the process, but I think that there's a lot of value in realizing that, like, you could just do something different. You
Mm-hmm.
just change your mind, you know? Maybe not so much with client projects, but like as you're
Sure.
making your way through your journey, you could just do a different thing, you know? And I think that's incredibly valuable to learn how to let go of certain things. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's definitely a lesson that I've had to learn, and that not to feel so precious about your work.
yeah.
You know, like, oh, you it's personal, you know. I mean, you spent hours and hours and hours of your life working on this thing, and then suddenly it didn't turn, you know, you realize you don't like it, or maybe the
Mm-hmm.
client realizes that they don't like it, or
Yep.
you know, maybe you did finish it and they did like it, and then they decided not to use it, or you know, any of
Oh.
those things. And you know, it's hard to kind of just like let go of that and just be okay with um being okay with not uh an art piece not being successful, I guess, technically.
Yeah.
You know, just like being, okay, well, we'll just, that's okay. We'll just move on to the next thing.
I
It's
think
okay.
that you said something that is like was probably one of the hardest things to ever go through for me, because I did
Mm,
not expect it, and that is you said you finish artwork for a client and they don't use it,
yeah.
and then you're at home like, am I bad at my job?
Yeah.
You
Like,
know,
what?
I
What
remember
do you
I
mean?
did
Why
a
didn't you use it?
where is it? I did a illustration for one of my favorite video games, and I won't say which one because I don't want everybody to go Google it and find the piece I'm about to talk about. I'm just gonna say I did an art project. I got the opportunity to work on something that I was like really emotionally attached to.
Mm.
Um, and I did the illustration, and they used it, but when it got posted, they had edited it, you know, and it wasn't
Oh.
like, it was not a disrespectful edit because the people I was working with were incredibly artistic people who understood like if you're going to do certain things, there's like there are some major no-nos, you know, that you
Yeah.
should not do. But what it was is like we had gone back and forth on this portion of the piece that they were not happy with, like my interpretation of it, or I wouldn't say not happy, but I think that maybe I wasn't understanding the ask.
Mm.
And so by the time the painting sort of arrived in the world, so that the fandom could like see this painting of the characters and the location, that portion of the piece was like color edited, so you couldn't really see it.
Oh man. Oh,
And
that's so painful.
looking back on it now, because I still have the original, I'm like, oh, it was bad. You know what I mean? But like
Oh.
when it happened to me, I was like, what have I done so terribly wrong, Father?
Oh
That you would
no.
forsake me this way?
Oh.
like I was like, oh no. And like realizing that you can make mistakes and that you, as you say, Cody, not every piece is incredibly successful.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to keep in mind and try not to take so personally. You will take it personally, most
Yeah.
likely. Like you probably will take it super personally. But sometimes that's, you know, you can't, you just can't help that. I also have made the cutest, chunkiest little fairy of all time, and I am in love with her. I just want, I
Oh,
just want to say
I love
her
her.
little
I love her little
feeties.
pixie cut too. It
Thank
looks
you.
great.
Oh, she's gonna have a little
Yes.
swoop, little bang swoop, you know.
Ooh, yeah.
Um,
What do you, so what are you kind of like thinking with this composition? Like what's, I see shapes, so you have
yeah.
ideas, right?
Yeah, so I was doing that thing where I just kind of throw a bunch of stuff in, and I was like, well, you know, what if these down here are like rocks that kind of come out of the forest, and they're like, this one's cut off by the edge of the composition square, and then these kind of like trail out, you know, outside of the borders. That would be really cool. And then I put this circle here to denote like I want my my subject in the center of the piece. But now I'm thinking it would be really, really cool if that was a moon, you know, like
Oh,
behind her.
yeah.
That could be really
Yeah.
neat. And I see that we do have a answer to our second poll, which
Yeah.
we've got 75% for haunted.
Overwhelmingly.
Yeah.
Of course they wanted to
Thanks,
throw us the
guys.
curveball.
Thanks, dudes. So we are definitely doing a super friendship episode of Creative Mad Libs, which I'm not gonna lie, all of these episodes are almost certainly going to be super friendship episodes. For real, but this is going to be a nice mix of Val and Cody elements. But I'm wondering if I could get a little creative with the interpretation of that. Now, you know me, folks.
Hmm.
I do love a good haunted house. I'm a connoisseur of spooky places.
Sure.
But I wonder if I could interpret that haunted house element of the piece into like classic horror lighting situations, you know,
Oh. Hmm.
classic horror color schemes, stuff like that, because it would be really interesting. Maybe I could put like a little house in the background, but if I did decide to make this a moon back here, I could do a really awesome like kind of thing with a rim light around her hair and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah.
that, you know? So that would be really cool. And I want her to look small, so we could put like little twigs and sticks and things maybe. So I might kind of elaborate on uh, our theme a little bit and kind of bring it in that direction for the horror. Um, and I cannot deny my desire to possibly get a haunted birdhouse from Codi out of this.
Haunted birdhouse.
I don't know what that
Yes.
looks like, but I know that I need it, you know? Um, Not understanding the ask is such a good way to put it sometimes. Penny doodles, yeah, you know? And I think that I don't know about you guys, but I've beat myself up, you know, over and over again so many times, like feeling like I'm not a good artist over certain things like that, when in fact I am a great artist.
Yeah.
We all have the potential to be incredible artists, and I think that, you know, we all have something, no matter what stage of our art journey we're in. We all have elements of our journey that, you know, we're doing great things in those
Mhm.
areas. But not understanding the ask from a client can, I think, severely impact the quality of your work.
Mhm.
And even if it's good, you won't see that it's good. You
Yeah.
know, it removes all your confidence in a way.
Mhm.
So I think I've felt that a great many times. And I will also confess that I don't think that that really goes away. I get better at it. I'm more adept
Yeah.
at interpreting client asks, but I haven't done everything. So there's always new stuff for me to learn and explore. There's always small, subtle elements in projects I'm working on where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I think that you know, that stays. You just get better at, how should I say it? Like, you get better at learning new concepts and picking up new skills along the way in your
Yeah,
journey.
definitely.
So I feel like there's a lot of stuff like that, isn't there? Where we're like, what if I'm bad? And it turns out we're not bad. We're just misinformed, and everybody around us is
Mhm.
feeling the same thing.
Yeah, definitely.
We're all doing it. I am going to turn my piece on a lower opacity, and I'm going to start blocking in a shape, because I think we're about halfway through our episode here, and
Wow, already? Oh my gosh.
I know, crazy, right? It's because we hanging out and having
Yeah.
best friend talk at the beginning, which Codi and I are sometimes want to do. You know, we do that. But yeah, I think that I want to get kind of a move on here. And I think I'm going to do that with the lasso tool. Don't you just love the lasso tool?
Lasso tool is so helpful. Oh my goodness.
What is a tool, aside from lasso, that you feel like, when it comes to Photoshop or Fresco, that you like could not work without? Like something where you're just like, I need this.
Um, well, brush tool.
Oh, oh, you don't say. Wow, yeah.
I would say clipping masks. I don't know if
Oh
that's
yeah,
really, is that a tool, I guess?
yeah.
Yeah,
A
clipping mask
feature, a
is
tool. Yeah.
something, yeah, feature. That's definitely something that I use in every single one of my pieces is clipping masks.
I would agree. I think that's a big one. I have actually been exploring in Fresco lately, and a little bit in like Illustrator on the iPad.
Hmm.
Um, the power of utilizing vectors and the vector brushes in
Oh,
Fresco,
yeah.
which is so
Uh-huh.
different because you and I have so much texture and
Yeah.
stuff in our pieces. It seems like a little out of place, and it feels out of place, let me tell you, like when you kind of like start adventuring in that area of the brushes, when you previously are only ever really using like chalk, charcoal, crayon brushes.
Yeah.
But I found that using vector brushes and experimenting, I should say, like to broaden everything, experimenting with incredibly precise methods of developing shapes and
Mhm.
forms in your piece can be really, really satisfying, especially if
Mm.
you're using like clipping masks, like Cody mentioned, to illustrate within those shapes afterwards.
Yeah.
And I find that like when I want to kind of change up my piece or move things around, the ability to move those vector elements without degrading the quality of the raster element is really valuable,
Mm.
because like if I
Mhm.
size and resize and do all a bunch of crazy stuff, you know, it might change a little bit as I move through my process. But with vector, all of my shapes, my entire composition remains exactly as I put it. It's just
Yeah.
the textures within it that
Yeah.
change. So that's been really cool, and I don't think that I could go without the option to do that now.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
so cool to be able to find a new tool that you really love so much.
It feels weird for sure, because I feel like you're very like me, and then I think like we add some new duds to the roster, you know, every once in a while, but
Yeah.
we kind of have our style and our approach down pat for the most
Yeah.
part. So it is not uber common for us to be like, you know what, I'm gonna do this different than ever before and be a different
Yeah.
gal. But when it happens, it's like, what?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. Also, maybe we can get our swamp forest poll going in the chat, because I would love to see what kind of elements I'm actually allowed to add. Because we're
Yes.
doing a fairy. I'm going to use haunted as like my color palette. I think color palette lighting scheme is like the hauntedness is going to really
Mhm.
influence there. But I'm like, do I get to put cattails in this? Or I guess you have cattails. You can put cattails in a
I
swamp
have
or a forest,
cattails.
huh?
A swamp or forest, yeah, I'm kind of
Yeah,
like sitting in the center right now.
yeah. But I
I
feel
don't
like
really know.
there's a difference between a spooky cattail and a fairy tale cattail.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
fairy tale cattails look really soft. You want to meet them.
Mhm.
You want to
They're like
explore,
little hot
and
dogs,
yeah, they're
you
like
know?
they're nature's corn dogs, folks.
Mhm.
Don't
Mhm.
Please don't bite them. But like they are, you know. But I feel like a cattail in a spooky swamp is like a little bit menacing. So we need to know what kind of cattails we're allowed to put in this project, folks. I'm gonna give her not feet. They're not
Not
feet.
feet.
Yeah, they're not feet at all. They're just like little points, and I'm gonna
Oh, yes.
color them like she has little slippers on, you know,
Yeah. Mhm.
little baby
Totally.
slippers.
Little fairy slippers. Some little slippies.
Little- I just really like how you said that. Little slippies.
Some little slippies.
I do enjoy, a pair of little slippies. You know,
Mhm.
make me feel cute. Might delete later. Is Gus in the chat? Gus! Hello! Welcome. Good to see you. Alex Lazarus says the save tool as his tool of choice that he loves. That's my favorite feature in Photoshop too, honestly. I'm gonna just go ahead and throw the others off the list. The top tier tool slash feature in Photoshop is probably the save tool, and I will say the undo tool.
Very true.
Yeah. I'm wondering if I need to do. Yeah, I do need to do lasso more. I'm talking to myself. You talk to yourself when you're not streaming?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm weird in here, you know? Like, I think my fiance is always like, who are you? Do we have company? And I'm like, no, it's just me, babe. It's just me. You know?
You know,
You know.
company of one.
Yeah. all by
Okay. Let's
myself.
see.
I think that's as much
Jack
as I
says,
can
"Oh
sing.
yeah, swamp is 91% on our poll."
Okay, all right. I like to believe that the spooky stands came out of the woodwork just for this one. That's what I
Yeah,
choose to believe.
clearly.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Codi will surprise you though. If you haven't seen Codi do spooky work, she you know, everything that Codi does is very like cute and cozy and sweet, but I feel like you have like done some things when we have done spooky themed stuff in the past where I'm just like, I wish I painted that, bro.
Every once in a while it comes out,
Yeah.
but it's hard. I really have to force it.
Yeah. Sometimes Codi, if we're lucky, Codi enters her spooky era on stream. And it's really great. I think what I admire most about your pieces with spookier elements is how you choose to blend the colors and tie everything together. Because your use of color, I think everybody would agree, is always really impeccable.
Oh, thank
But
you.
you kind of bring that warmth and that style into colors that I wouldn't expect with the new atmosphere you're applying it to, and I'm like, man, I wish I could
Aw.
blend purple and green. I wish I could do that.
Well, what do you mean? I think you do purple and green incredibly in your work. I mean, I've seen some pieces even on your portfolio where like you do such a good job of incorporating like almost neon colors into your work sometimes. Like there's a
Thanks.
specific, I can't think of it, but like there's some scenes in your portfolio that are like big towers that have like bright greens and oranges in it. I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. It
The
almost like it
obelisks.
looks like, yes, the obelisk. That's what it is. It almost looks like some concept art for a video game or something. It looks awesome.
Thanks. It actually was concept art for a video game because at some point
Your video game, right?
yeah, I was like, I'm gonna make a
Yeah.
video game, and then I was like, this is not easy to do at all. So now I have some concept art for something that may never be real unless somebody is like, hello, I would like to program this for you. But just because you said that, I'm adding green to this. She's gonna be wearing green. I'm gonna put her in like a moss outfit. It's gonna be cool. But yeah, thanks. I think that green and purple and like adding the neon elements is like some of my favorite kind of stuff to do, but I think it's really easy to get discouraged because I do it so often. I always wonder like, how much longer am I going to get away with this? You know what I mean? Like, how much longer am I going to be able to keep using this color scheme before people finally are like, all right, that's enough, you know? And I never really know. Do you ever feel like that? Maybe folks in chat, you can chime in, because I feel like that sometimes where I'm like, I think this is what I'm known for, but am I known for it, or are people just like, yeah, that's what she does. Like that's the you know the self-consciousness of like kind of doing creative work is like, I'm proud of what I make, but like sometimes I have that feeling like, you know, is it good though? Is it, you know?
Is it good? Is it good or is it tired?
Yeah, is it giving Balenciaga or what is it, you know? I wish I could give Balenciaga. I would, if I could give Balenciaga once, I'd never have to draw a picture again. And I still would, obviously, but if we could reach Balenciaga levels of design, you know, we would be fine. We'd do whatever we want. We could put all of our characters in strange fishnet tubes and call it an outfit. You know, it could be anything. Spooky Bear era. Yes, Penny Doodles. Yes.
Spooky Bear.
I'm
with an eye.
Yeah, Every artist has favorite color scheme, and that's their signature. Mine is cerulean and fire orange. Cerulean and fire orange just sounds like the beginnings of a spell cast. So,
It sounds like Pokemon games,
oh my
honestly.
god, yes. It so does. You're so right. What color's her hair gonna be? I don't know. Chat, what color am I making her hair? And then while you deliberate on that, I'm gonna add her wings. I'm gonna do like a soft blue. Like a powdered cerulean, if you will.
Powdered cerulean. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very specific.
I don't even know what that means, to be perfectly honest. I don't know. We're gonna find out. I feel like she should have spookier wings than your standard, like, fairy wings.
What constitutes a spooky wing?
It has to be like a fleeky eyebrow. You know what I mean? Like, the fleekier the wing, the spookier it is. I feel like that's definitely that's the line, you know. And once you cross into like fleeky shape versus like rounded shape, you are officially a spooky winged girl. Yeah. If I had wings, I would aspire to make them fleeky. So I'm just gonna let's just give her like that general shape. Let's make it break the borders a little bit. And then I will start to like curve them and maybe point the ends a little bit. You're just, gosh, Codi, you are trucking through an entire scene again.
I'm trying.
How have you done this?
I don't know. I am trying. I'm trying to do the spook, you know?
This is magnificent. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Is the haunted treehouse a squash?
Yes.
I love it!
It's a little squatty squash.
I love it. I love it so much. It's good. If you had wings, you would be a voodoo fly. That's actually sounds kind of awesome. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind. Christy is saying for hair color is saying dusty black. Marcy is saying fairy yellow. Gurgroove is saying silvery light blue. That could be cool. I think I do like the idea of it being like a dusty dark color for contrast. So what if we did like a we could do like a charcoal purple, you know, that's like darker than my background. And then we could add some highlights and streaks of color from the other suggestions. You know, I think that could be cool. We're gonna swoop this hair. Give her a little pixie cut. A fairy cut. Excuse me.
Fairy cut, yeah.
Little fairy cut. I want to make sure I accentuate the swoop. Also, we have, I cannot believe this, we have 10 minutes left. That's wild to me. That's insane. I'll give her some little pointy ears. We are just, you know, since we're coming to the end here, I would love to remind everyone that if you want to create with us, you can tag us and the Adobe Live Instagram on Insta and let us see what you made with us, or at a later date after watching the show. We would love to see if you create something along the lines of our prompt. Also, you guys can kind of interpret this any way you want. Like, you've got the prompt, so you can do the prompt exactly how we ended up doing the prompt, or feel free to choose different options from the prompt. Some people were saying you could split this prompt down the middle, and we had acknowledged at the beginning it's like a Val choices versus Codi choices. So you guys could choose all the Codi choices if you want, or you could choose all the Val choices, or do the exact opposite of what we did today so that we can see your interpretation of what that could be like. It would be really great to hear from you guys. We would love to show your artwork on the next episode. And speaking of which, Codi, we're going to be back in a week.
We are.
Crazy. Every week.
Every single week on Fridays, you guys.
Wow, pretty wild. So we'll be back on Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we will also be back with an episode that I am tentatively referring to as the Build-A-Bear episode, because we've got some really awesome choices for you guys to pick from regarding some pretty stellar, spectacular accessories for our character.
I think you guys will like it.
Yeah.
I think you guys will like it.
So I hope that you will join us and check out what our next prompt will be next week. I hope that in the meantime you guys will kind of return to the show and get some inspiration, go to the drawing board, and let us see kind of what you can come up with for our prompt, for our theme this week, and shoot your work over to us so that we can check it out. You ever make a line in your work when you realize, oh, that just changed the whole thing, this is it?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Especially if you're going through the process of like sculpting and erasing and stuff, and you make one line and it's like, oh no, that was a bad line. That doesn't work.
Whoa, that's what not to do. That's
undo.
I just put lines and sketchy stuff on her, like the little scribble that I made for her little outfit, and all of a sudden it's a whole dress made out of leaves.
Right.
It's just a leaf dress now. And
it's
I'm
just
like,
a leaf dress.
Wow, girl, you can draw. It's like you know what you're doing.
Right.
Wow.
I call those lucky lines.
Yeah. When you're just like, did I make this? What?
Did I?
That's crazy. Reminds me of when I met Julia Roberts. No way.
What?
Don't play with my emotions, Sean. Don't play with me that way. I love that for you and for me to hear about. That is so cool. I have not been able to meet any famous people super duper directly. I did, however, go to school in Culver City for a time when I was a kid, and we didn't get to use the playground one day because they were outside filming an episode of The X-Files.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, we stayed inside and played board games and looked out the window, and they had to keep telling us, hey, don't look out the window like that. Don't do that. But yeah, so that's about as close, I think, as I've come to like famous people. I wish I met Julia Roberts. Have you ever met Julia Roberts, Cody?
I have not.
Can't say that you have?
No.
Darn. Well, that's pretty special, Sean. One of them needs crystals. You guys did last fall as a scepter or something. Ooh. You're right. You're right. I'm gonna add crystals. We got about 4 minutes here. I'm gonna give
4 minutes to add crystals. Go.
Whoa. I am gonna give her a crystal belt. She's gonna have crystals, like crystal trinkets on her belt.
That's a good idea. Like accessories, like a necklace or a staff or
crystals
like that.
and crystals accessories.
Yes, exactly.
I apologize for that one. I apologize for that. Give her some little crystals. I kind of want to add more to her face, but I know if I start working on her face right now that I will get lost in it. I'll get lost in her eyes, so I'll wait till a later date to do that. But I can't wait to see you color yours, Cody. That is
so I was planning on doing this as a night scene. I'm putting like little fireflies around, and like it was gonna be like a little like spooky night scene. Right now it doesn't feel so spooky, but I feel like when the lighting changes, it could change a lot about the scene, So,
yeah, absolutely.
So
That's
yeah,
we're
getting there.
Right, I can see the spooky elements though, because you've got this really great vibe, which is one of my most favorite things when it comes to like children's book illustration, and even like more spooky serious work is just like the eyes in the bush.
Yes,
like
that's
you've
what I was
got
thinking.
Creatures suggested in the background. You leave your viewer wondering like, what is it? What's back there? What could it be? That sort of thing really is one of my favorite kinds of elements, and so I love it. So I think I can imagine the future of this as a spooky piece, even though you don't have the spooky colors in there just yet.
Fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, when I thought spooky, I was like, spooky swamp. Okay, eyes in the bushes.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me think of like old Disney movies or something.
Yes, yes. Like the classic Snow White is one that I
Yeah.
think like did that a lot. I'm gonna give her little slippers with like laces, like up her legs,
Oh.
little vines. I'm actually really pleased with this. I wish I had done more in the episode, but I think that this is like a seriously decent start to a scene. I think this is gonna
Yeah,
look
it's
really
beautiful.
cool.
I mean, considering our stream is only an hour, I mean, that's a decent amount of work for 1 hour.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. And
Yeah.
yet again, I've started in color. I'm really, really doing my best to
Yeah.
like, choose colors off the bat. And it turns out, you can do the things that you're scared of artistically. You just have to practice it. You just have to practice it. So
I'll keep telling myself that.
yeah, you're like, thanks. We'll see if we. Yeah.
Sure, Val.
That's such a real reaction. All right, guys, we are coming to the end of our show. Thank you all so much for joining us. We do have to take off, but I hope that you will join in the fun and create some work with us, and show up next week on Friday morning for our Build-A-Bear super top secret awesome episode, which I think is going to be hilarious. Cody, you were fabulous and wonderful. As always, it is a joy to hang out with you, and thank you, friend. But we're taking off, but there's more awesome stuff coming up after us, so don't go away. Adios, folks.
Thanks, guys. Bye.